About 50 years ago, scientists noticed that lakes' natural ability to clean themselves were slowing down. That's what happened to Lake Highland in Fridley, but now things are changing. Wildlife had nearly vanished from this lake a few years ago, but now it's springing back to life thanks to a lake restoration process performed by a Minneapolis-based company. Today, that company is spreading its wings by sharing the process with engineers from France and Taiwan.
This will not go down in history, what we're doing today, but this will make a mark on history from now on.
All over the world, lakes, rivers, and reservoirs are dying from the natural buildup of sediment. Adding to this problem is runoff from storm sewers and nitrates from fertilizers. It's an international problem that the French are trying to tackle for the first time.
Tonight in Dimension at 6, a Hopkins company that helps the world's environment.
The company specializes in cleaning up lake water, and has installations in several Minnesota lakes and ponds. But its next big job is a pilot project in France to clean up a river. Today, a delegation from France was in Columbia Heights to watch the cleanup process in action, as Alan Cox reports.
Island used to be mostly covered with algae and lily pads, its bottom buried in 10 feet of muck. That began to change 4 years ago with the help of tiny bubbles that drew the attention of an international delegation. The French are interested in a cleanup system devised by a Hopkins company. 20 years ago, Clean-Flo Laboratories developed a system to clean lakes by adding oxygen, microorganisms, and a chemical that removes the pollutant phosphorus. Algae gives way to fish. The system is in use in more than 100 Minnesota lakes and ponds, but the French have something else in mind, a 12-mile stretch of river in an industrial region.
It will be the first time in France that we will try to treat the water inside the river. And I think that there are not many other cases of that type even in the world.
If the experiment on the French River works, a system that has given life to the waters of the New World may help the Old World as well.
The delegation of French governmental agents and engineers you've just seen visited Minnesota in 1992 to determine if they would pursue the cleanup of the La Helpe River in France. They had either diverted, stopped, or treated all incoming pollutants possible to the river by 1990. 2 years later, the river was still dead. It had no fish or insects for 43 kilometers downstream from Formy, France. The river was rated Class 3 to 4, Class 4 meaning unusable for every purpose. 8 months after the Clean-Flo system was installed, the river was rated Class 1 to 2 for the entire 43 kilometers. Class 1 meaning usable for every purpose. Fish and insects were thriving in the river, and the local residents reported that the odor was gone. In May 1993, the mayor of Formy received the 2 highest environmental awards in France for the work done by Clean-Flo. As a result, Philippine President Fidel Ramos and the First Lady Ming Ramos hosted a contract signing ceremony for a feasibility study to restore the Pasig River that flows through Metro Manila. Clean-Flo now has trade agreements in many countries around the world. You also saw some engineers from Taiwan in the newscasts. These gentlemen had a different problem. The Fengshan Reservoir in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, is fed by a river with hundreds of pig farmers dumping pig manure into the river. This caused a heavy blue-green algae bloom in the reservoir. The reservoir is a source of drinking water for the residents of Kaohsiung. The citizens were picketing over the taste and odor in the drinking water and were often on television and in the newspapers. Clean-Flo placed a barrier between the reservoir inlet and the drinking water treatment plant to increase the time the river water was in the reservoir from 1/2 hour to 17 hours. Then we installed a bacterial contact media to provide a place for beneficial bacteria to feed on nitrogen and phosphorus in the water. We installed 400 diffusers, and by the time the 400th diffuser was installed, the blue-green algae was gone, and the taste and the odor problem disappeared. The Taiwan government reported that Clean-Flo has saved them $586,000 a year in water treatment costs. Clean-Flo has removed the odor from many bodies of water, including pig manure holding pits. In 3 cases, the farmers were being sued by neighbors because of the odor. and state agents were inspecting the farms to decide whether they should make the farmers cease their hog-raising ventures. One farmer's wife was divorcing him because of the smell. Clean-Flo saved all 3 farmers from the lawsuits and the state government intervention. And in one case, we saved the farmer's marriage. The Clean-Flo process also extends to the realm of wastewater restoration. Our new sewage treatment process was pioneered in the Philippines. Our first project was a tomato paste factory that had black wastewater with a terrible stench. 24 hours after our system was installed, the water turned brown and the odor was gone. Then we treated a Coca-Cola plant in the Philippines and saved them 30% on their electric consumption. We treated a Swift Foods poultry processing plant, and they contracted to have us treat their wastewater at all 21 plants in the Philippines. This is a partial list of Clean-Flo projects of the 2,000 completed since 1970. The list includes St. James Park at Buckingham Palace in London, famous Goa Resort in India, Olympic Park in Seoul, Korea, Ilsan City and Siwa Tide Embankment in South Korea. As you can see, Clean-Flo was one of the first lake, river, reservoir, and pond restoration companies, and we are now a world leader in solving water pollution problems.